There's your story today for Bible for Tuesday, April 7th, and this is entitled Scattered and Scared Sheep. When Jesus and his disciples reached the Mount of Olives, he gave them some sobering news. All of you will abandon me tonight. Jesus then quoted a prophecy from the Old Testament. I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad, from Zechariah 13:7. Peter responded with brave words. He said that even if everybody else left Jesus, he would never leave him. But Jesus' answer wasn't what Peter expected. Jesus said that on that very night before the rooster crowed, Peter would deny knowing him 3 times. Peter insisted that he would never deny the Lord. As they came to the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus took Peter, James, and John apart with him to pray. Jesus became sad and deeply troubled. He asked those 3 friends to stay awake with him. When he walked a little farther on and fell on his face before God and prayed, "Oh my God, if it be possible, remove this cup from me, but your will be done, not mine." His agony was so great that his sweat was like big drops of blood falling to the ground. In Luke 22:44. Jesus spent 3 sessions in prayer. Each time he came back to find his disciples sleeping. Jesus woke them up and urged them to pray that they would not enter into temptation. Jesus knew that his disciples wanted to please him, but he also knew what was ahead for them, and he knew their weaknesses. After the 3rd time of prayer, Jesus returned to his disciples and said that they should get going because the one who would betray him was nearby. Before Jesus finished speaking, Judas entered the garden with a large crowd of armed men who had come from the Jewish religious leaders. Judas greeted him, pretending to be respectful, and then he kissed Jesus. That kiss was a signal to the crowd to take hold of Jesus and to take him away. Jesus went with them willingly, but true to the prophecy, all the disciples left him and fled. The crowd took Jesus to 2 different religious leaders, first to Annas and then to Caiaphas, the high priest, and then the Sanhedrin. Jesus' trials extended long into the night. Peter and another disciple followed from a distance to see what would happen. Peter was sitting with some servants in the courtyard of the high priest's house where the trial before Caiaphas took place. The Sanhedrin was trying to find someone who would accuse Jesus of having done something worthy of the death penalty. Again and again, false witnesses came forward and lied about Jesus, but it was to no avail. The Sanhedrin couldn't find a good excuse to put Jesus to death. Finally, 2 more false witnesses spoke. They misquoted Jesus, claiming that he had said, "I am able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days." But actually, when Jesus had said this temple, he meant the temple of his body, in John 2:19-21. Caiaphas stood and demanded that Jesus answer this accusation, but Jesus kept silent. Caiaphas asked Jesus whether he was the Messiah, the Son of God. Jesus replied, "You have said." He then told Caiaphas that one day in the future he would see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds, in Matthew 26:64. Caiaphas tore his clothing and called Jesus' words blasphemy. "We don't need any more witnesses, do we?" He asked. Look, you have heard his blasphemy. What is your verdict?" The people answered, "He is guilty of death." An uproar ensued, and the people spit in Jesus' face, beat him with their fists, and slapped him. They shouted mocking words. "Prophesy for us, you Christ. Who is it that just hit you?" Meanwhile, out in the courtyard, some people recognized Peter as one of the Christ's followers. First, a servant girl questioned him about being with Jesus. Peter told a cowardly lie, saying that he didn't know what she was talking about. Later, another person identified Peter as having been with Jesus. But once again, Peter lied and with an oath said, "I do not know the man." After a while, some people who had been standing nearby came up to Peter and said that his speech indicated that he was from Galilee, the province Jesus was from. This time, Peter invoked a curse on himself and swore an oath, repeating, "I do not know the man." Immediately, Peter heard the crowing of a rooster, and he remembered what Christ had said, "Before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times." Peter went out and wept bitterly. And so you have that story there, sad story, difficult time for Christ, of course, as he was going through the difficulties he went through of the crucifixion, of the false accusations, and the true accusations for which they actually killed him, where he was the Christ, and he had told them he was the Christ, and he had said, and he showed them that he was through his miracles, but they wouldn't believe him. And so you have page 195 and 196 to do. I will give you something to remember, though, and that is BDFCAE. You should remember that. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.